credit, bad credit, no problem. When I get there, it's always a problem. And I don't wanna be out of broke no more before I end up robbing. Bad credit on me down, I say yeah. Ain't no one that's going nowhere. I know you need help out the mud too. My daughter want that crib too. I know that we deserve thanks too. Just because I'm not as rich as you, that don't mean I don't deserve my chance to get it. You think we strong now? Wait till I fix my credit, dog. I've been through it all. Big OG in St. Louis hit me up with that call. Said it's pleasant management to fix your credit when you got it wrong. OG said forget them all, show you bigger ways to ball. Cause that's just what they want, for you to not have nothing and they can't ever stunt. Real life is on a budget and I know that they love when we tie down. Cause when you can't stand up, you fall down. Good credit, bad credit, no problem. When I get there, it's always a problem. And I don't wanna be out of broke no more before I end up robbing. Bad credit on me down, I say yeah. Ain't no one that's going nowhere. I know you need help out the mud too. My daughter want that crib too. I know that we deserve thanks too. Just because I'm not as rich as you, that don't mean I don't deserve my chance to get it. You think we strong now? Wait till I fix my credit, dog.
I'm currently on several different platforms at the same time. So if it seems like I'm not looking directly at you, I'm probably looking at the camera down here. So I'm on different platforms at the same time. So forgive me. But I want to really get this information out there. I really do. And the topic tonight is going to be home ownership versus renting. Why do we choose to rent, but yet we own investment property? That's going to be our topic tonight. So I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes, let a few more people get in. We're going to get started. And everything that I speak about, I speak from experience. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not a textbook thing. This is not I heard someone else say it on social media. This is strictly from experience. And this is what works for me and my wife. You know what I'm saying? This is what works for us. You know, it may not work for everybody. But I believe that I've stumbled upon some information that is extremely useful, that others have been using for decades, for centuries. And they kept that information away from us. You know what I'm saying? They kept that information away from us. So I want to start off by saying this first. We've been sold on the idea that generational wealth begins with home ownership. They taught us this. They actually taught our great grandparents this, who taught our grandparents, who taught our parents, who taught us. All right. We've been sold on the idea that home ownership is the gap between generational wealth, between the have and the have-nots. I want to say this. I have never, ever met anyone who said my grandparents died or my parents died and they left me the house and I became a millionaire. I've never met anyone that said that. Most of the times when they pass along, if they don't have a will, you could be charged with whatever death they had prior to death. They can go after the estate. They can sue the estate. And like I say, everything I talk about from experience. When my father died, my father owed American Express about $12,000, $13,000. I got a letter from American Express that said to the estate, my father, Lawrence Owens, to the estate of Lawrence Owens, you owe us $13,000. And we come in for that. In order for me to stop them from putting a lien on my father's house, my parents' house, I had to pay that $13,000. I had to pay that. because they was coming forward. Just because your grandparents, parents, or whoever die and leave you property don't mean that it's debt free. That's not a gateway to generational wealth. They sold us on the idea of buying a house. This is what they told us. This is what they told us. They said, we want you to work a job for 25 to 35 years. All right. We want you to purchase a house from the bank. We want you to pay a mortgage for 25 to 30 years. Within 10 to 15 years, you may have equity, because that first 10, 15 years of a mortgage is primarily all principal. I mean, all interest. Excuse me, not principal, but interest. Primarily the first 10, 15 years of that mortgage is all interest. You don't really start touching the principal until like year 15, year 16. That's why it's a 30-year mortgage, because you're paying 15 years of interest. Think about that. Like I say, my wife and I decided we did not want to get a 30-year residential mortgage. When we got approved for our home loan, we sat down and we decided, why not get a multi-unit? Why not get a multi-unit instead of getting a residential house? I know homeowners right now, if they're not in good financial fit, if they're not in a good financial place, their house kicking their ass. Kicking their ass. I know homeowners right now, sewer system backed up, roof leaking. They can't afford to fix it. It's not an American dream, it's an American nightmare. And then on my page, if you go back and read all the comments, all of a sudden now, I have all these people that own a house. I own my house. I own my house. I've been paying on my house for 26 years. That's miserable. To me, that's miserable. We're not in Generation X anymore. People are moving around. The world is our oyster. People are leaving the country, moving to other countries every day. Me and my wife, we move into another country within the next year or 18 months. We decided we didn't want a 30-year mortgage, 25-year mortgage. For what? I'm not planning on living in one location for 30 years of my life. There's a whole country out there. It's a whole country, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Generational wealth and home ownership has nothing to do with each other. There is no connection between generational wealth and home ownership. They tricked us. They fooled us. You know how you create generational wealth? Through entrepreneurship. Create a business. I have friends that are millionaires and multimillionaires, and they're close friends of mine. One of my closest friends was one of St. Louis's biggest entrepreneurs. He owned one of the biggest roller rinks in St. Louis. He owned 3 or 4 of the top nightclubs in St. Louis, the top restaurants in St. Louis. He's a serial entrepreneur. That's how he built his wealth, through entrepreneurship and through investing in property. I was just at one of his new houses day before yesterday. He invested like 25, 30 bands into a new house. I mean, beautiful. The construction, amazing. Amazing. It's like his 60th or 70th property. 60th or 70th property. That's how you build generational wealth, through entrepreneurship. Number 2, the second way to build generational wealth after entrepreneurship is investing. Instead of buying residential property, listen, when you buy a house, you paying the bank. People, I read comments, people were saying, oh, well, when you renting, you're paying a landlord. Okay, when you buy a house, you paying the bank. And guess what? If you foreclose on that loan, the bank kick you out and they resell it to somebody else. They resell it to somebody else. At least with a landlord, if I fall on hard times, I can be able to negotiate based off the relationship I have with them. I've known people that have done that. You can't do that with a bank. You foreclose on the bank, and that shit gonna be on your credit and fuck your credit up. A foreclosure on your credit could last 7 to 10 years. Who gonna rent to you after a foreclosure? So people always come up with these worst case scenarios. Oh, what if your landlord decide to sell your property while you live there? That's why you have a lease. He can sell it or not sell it. It don't matter. I have a lease. I'm legally bound to be in this house. I have a lease. So it doesn't matter. And that's another point I want to make. The difference between renting and having a mortgage If my wife and I decide to say, listen, man, we're going to move to Punta Cana tomorrow, I could sit down with my landlord and come to an agreement and say, hey, man, look, we want to move out of here. You know, we want to move in 30 days. You know, what we have to do to move. And we could work out an agreement to let us out the lease to move. You can't do that with a mortgage. What if you got a 30-year mortgage and you accept a job in another city? You got a 30-year mortgage, and some people say, oh, well, you can rent the house out. So now you live in a whole nother city. You live in a whole nother city. You're going to rent your house out and pray they pay your rent. You're going to pray they pay your rent while you're in another city. Okay, good luck. I promise you, good luck. So 2 ways to build generational wealth. 1 is through investments. 2, through entrepreneurship, creating businesses, creating cash flow. That's what we did. We took the second route. You know what I'm saying? We created investments. You know, even though we rent our house, beautiful house, 4-bedroom house, sit on a 1/4 acre of land. I'm talking about one of the nicest suburbs in St. Louis County. Couldn't ask for a better landlord. Been here 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Great relationship with him. I've had people comment, oh, what if your landlord do this? What if your landlord do this? I mean, I think some of you people just grew up in a fucking ghetto, man. Like, y'all grew up in the hood. Like, y'all got some real. I had one lady comment like, oh, what if the landlord don't fix shit? I've never had that experience. Like, I've never, as a matter of fact, in my years of living in apartments and in houses, I've never had that experience. Like, I don't know what communities you guys move into. Like, I'm sorry, you know, like, I've never had that experience my entire life. Never. I've never had anything break down in a house or an apartment that I was renting and didn't call the landlord and they came and fixed it. So I don't know what type of environment some of you people come from. Maybe you should do your homework. Maybe you should do your homework on the landlord before you move into the property. I'm pretty sure that property probably had problems before you moved in there. But, you know, to each their own, but I've never had that issue. You know, I have a great relationship with our landlord. He's a man of integrity, and that would never happen. You know, that would never happen. As a matter of fact, his father purchased his house brand new in the 1960s. So that's how long this house has been in there on a part of their portfolio. Like, they own like 100 properties throughout West County, St. Louis. Like, that's generational wealth. Like, unfortunately, his father's battling dementia, but the 2 sons have taken over the business. I have a great relationship with the one son that's over my property. But that's generational wealth. Like, he passed down multi-million-dollar properties to his son, you know. So that's why when we got approved for our loan, instead of us purchasing a residential property, we decided to say, let's go with an investment property. And as a matter of fact, the first week of February, we're closing on what's called a mixed commercial use property, meaning that it's residential and commercial. So it's going to be like our first commercial property. And our goal is to have 2 sustainable businesses downstairs while having 2 more residents. It's 2 2-bedroom apartments upstairs. So our goal is to have residential upstairs and 2 viable businesses downstairs. I don't know what community you guys come from, but in St. Louis, even to recently, I remember back in the 80s into recently, most of the restaurants that were owned by Asians and Indians in our neighborhood, I'm talking about in the hood, the family lived upstairs and they operated the restaurants downstairs. You know what I'm saying? So they just had to wake up, prepare themselves, go downstairs and open up business. You know what I'm saying? So that's a mixed commercial use property, you know. And the third way, so I told you 2 ways to create generational wealth. 1 is through entrepreneurship. I don't care if it's a hot dog stand. As a matter of fact, last summer, I had a young man approach me and he said, so he was going through some hard times and, you know, he wanted to figure out a way to make some money. And I told him, I said, well, look, I'll tell you what I do. I would invest in a Polish and hot dog stand. In one of my properties, it sits on an extremely busy intersection. I would get your license and you can sit out there and you can sell hot dogs in Polish. You know what I'm saying? And we could do a 70-30 split. You know, he didn't want to do it. But that hot dog stand would generate more money than a mortgage, because a mortgage takes money out your pocket. When you got a mortgage, you got insurance, you got taxes, you got repairs, you got maintenance. It's a lot that comes with a mortgage. Anything happens to our house in this rental, I just call the landlord. Somebody could drive through the front fucking door in an 18-wheeler. I just call the landlord. Then someone said, well, doesn't that happens to you with your property? You're absolutely right. But it's how often it happens, and the fact that the money does not come out our pockets. We get positive cash flow through rental income every month from 7 doors. From 7 doors mean 7 different residential tenants that we have. That's what 7 doors mean. So we got 7 doors that pay us rent every month. Things don't break down every month. Last year in 2024, I had 2 major issues out of 7 doors. We do preventive maintenance. I have a maintenance crew that take care of the properties, and we still come out with a very nice, positive cash flow. Now, had we had a mortgage, it wouldn't be so much. It wouldn't be so much. Imagine if you got a mortgage on a house and you have a major repair happens, like a major repair, and then something else happens. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And then something else happens. You know, it could be crippling. You know, most people are working paycheck to paycheck. You know, everybody on social media make it seem like they're doing good. Most people are working paycheck to paycheck. It takes sometimes, 2 incomes to maintain a mortgage. It takes 2 incomes to maintain rent. But at least with rent, if something happens to that couple, at least the other person could probably go to the landlord and say, hey, look, me and this person broke up. I can't afford this by myself. How can I get out this lease? I'm moving back home with my mama till I get my life together. Like, you can't do that with a mortgage. You absolutely cannot do that with a mortgage. You are responsible for everything with a mortgage. Everything. And again, my wife and I, we like our freedom of movement. We like moving around. We lived in Miami for a number of years. We lived in Charleston, South Carolina for a number of years. We lived in Santo Domingo. You know what I mean? We love that freedom of movement that you don't get with a mortgage. You don't get that with a mortgage. So I told you 2 ways that you can create generational wealth. Entrepreneurship, it could be something small. It could be a hot dog stand. It could be an ice cream truck. It could be a candy store. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you for the rose. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Like, entrepreneurship doesn't mean like you just have to go out and buy this big commercial business and kick it off. Like, if you can, cool. But if not, you can run, you can do her out your house. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's consistent, you could be painting houses. You could be cutting grass. Like, it's all about entrepreneurship. That's how you build generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? Investments, investing in assets. Investing in assets. That's how you build generational wealth. And a third way to build generational wealth that a lot of people don't like to talk about. A lot of people don't like to talk about the third way to generate generational wealth. It's life insurance. Life insurance. GoFundMe is not life insurance. A GoFundMe is not life insurance. I have a friend right now that's an insurance agent, and we had this conversation all the time, and it's unfortunate. There are churches, well, there used to be churches, they probably still do, but there used to be churches back in the day when Compton, California, before it was gentrified, it was churches in Compton, California that had the parents of gangbangers sign their kids up for life insurance. And the churches were paying the life insurance policies. And if something unfortunate happened to Pookie or JoJo, Lil Man, Trey and them, if something unfortunate happened to them, the church will literally get the policy and they will split the policy with the parents. You know what I'm saying? They will split the policy with the parents because they was paying the premiums. And unfortunately for a lot of us, particularly in inner city, we hate to admit that, Junior tripping. You know what I'm saying? Junior got ops. You know what I'm saying? Junior got ops. Junior got problems out there. You know what I'm saying? He got problems out there. He in them streets. You know what I mean? He jumped off the sidewalk. He in them streets. A lot of us have elderly parents that don't have life insurance. Most of us don't have life insurance. You know, and it was a hard conversation to have with my wife because my wife and I, we have an age gap relationship. I am much older than my wife. You know what I'm saying? And when I had to sit her down and we did my life insurance policy, I mean, she was upset about it because it's a conversation that people don't like to have. You know what I'm saying? People don't like to have that conversation about, thank you for the badge. People don't like to have that conversation about life insurance. But every time somebody get knocked off for whatever reason, the first thing we do is we create GoFundMe. GoFundMe is not insurance. And life insurance is not that expensive. The younger you are, the cheaper it is. You know, you can start life insurance on a baby as young as a week old. I found that out through my insurance partner, my insurance friend. He taught me that. You can start a life insurance policy on a baby as early as a week old. I never knew that. And guess what? The premiums would be so cheap because the younger the person is, the cheaper the premiums. So we know JoJo out there in the streets tripping. We know he on social media screaming about his ops. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you live in high crime areas like St. Louis City, Chicago, Detroit, anywhere in the Midwest. Anywhere in the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere in the Midwest. Thank you for the donut. I'm new to this. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere in the Midwest. We don't hit them streets. Why not get life insurance on them? It's not a knock on him. But guess what? That $150,000 policy, that $200,000 policy, that's using that correctly. That doesn't mean you get 200 grand, you go out and buy a new car, you go and buy a house. No, you create assets with it. And that's the problem. If you ever study people that win the lottery, most of them are broke within 7 to 10 years after winning the lottery because they never was taught financial literacy. And the first thing they do is they go out and buy a big house, they buy them a car, they buy everybody in their family a car. They think the money is endless. And in 7 to 10 years, they right back where they started that they broke. And I've been through that cycle. I've been a millionaire twice in my life. Twice. But I learned it's not about getting it, it's about how can you keep it. And that's why I say everything I teach from experience. So 3 ways to build generational wealth is 1, entrepreneurship. Create a business, create positive cash flow income, right? No matter, as long as it's legal. I don't care if you're washing cars. You know what I'm saying? You'll be amazed at how much that corner car wash makes monthly. You'll be amazed at how much that candy store on the corner makes monthly. You'll be amazed at how much that lady that sell that candy pickles, that's all she got is candy pickles. You'll be amazed at how much she makes monthly. What they doing has greater value than a mortgage. Has greater value than a mortgage because what they're doing is creating income, positive cash flow. You go to New York right now, every 3-4 blocks is somebody selling hot dogs. It's for a reason. It's for a reason. I was telling a story. I knew a guy. I met a guy in Charleston, South Carolina. He started with 1 ice cream truck. Within 5 years, he had 6 ice cream trucks. And during the spring and summer, he would rent 5 of the trucks out. Those 6 ice cream trucks put all his children through school, paid for all his assets. He had an abundance of rental property. He had his own nice residential property. He invited my wife and I out to his house. He was Nigerian. Great guy. But he started with an ice cream truck and he lived in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? He started in an apartment. You know, so again, entrepreneurship. 2nd, investments. And you can start with small investments. Like even right now, I have my wife and I, we have Charles Schwab. We started with them. We invest $100 a month into our Charles Schwab account. We have Acorn. Acorn is really, really simple. We invest $100 a month into Acorn. We have it's one more we got. We got Charles Schwab. We got Acorn, which is extremely simple. E-Trade. We have an E-Trade account. We invest $100 a month into that account. And it's on what they call an auto trader. So they decide, we're except to a Charles Schwab account because we've been with Charles Schwab now for about 3 years. That account is kind of substantial. So we have an actual agent that works that account. But when it comes to E-Trade and Acorn, those are like what they call auto traders. So we just invest $100 a month. Plus with Acorn, they do a thing called Roundup, meaning that every time you swipe your credit card or your debit card, if it's attached to the account, then say if you spend 58 cents, they'll take that other 41 cents and put it into your investments. You'll be amazed at how fast that grows. I think last year I did like $1,700 in just my Acorn account, like $1,700. You know what I'm saying? In just a year, just rounding up and doing $100 a month though. So just small things like that, man. And again, when it comes to home ownership, it's not for the weak. It's not for the weak. And I get it. All these people was on here talking about, oh, I own a house and I got investment property. And one guy said, oh, I've been paying on my house for 24 years. I own it in a couple of years. That's not a flex to me. You know what I'm saying? I value my freedom. You know what I'm saying? I value my freedom. I told a story. My daughter just accepted a job in Dallas, Texas. She works with autistic children. Had my daughter had a mortgage, she'd be scrambling trying to figure out how can I get from up under this mortgage so I can accept this job in Dallas, Texas. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to move where the groove at. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to move where the groove at. It's the reason why a lot of people migrating to Houston and Dallas and Austin. It's the reason why a lot of people migrating to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people migrating to Raleigh, North Carolina. They moving where opportunities are at. And sometimes, you got to get the courage and move where the opportunities are at. My wife and I, our ultimate goal is to open up a restaurant in Santo Domingo because, first of all, we used to go there like every 3 months. Then we lived there for a little bit over a year. And the one thing I noticed is that they have no soul food restaurants, but the tourist season over there is crazy. And I'm not the best cook, but I can cook, and I would like cook for my friends in DR, and they would be like, "Man, this is amazing." And I'm an amateur, so I was like, "Okay, let's see, can we probably put like a nice little small, so authentic soul food restaurant in this country and see how it goes." That's a part of that's how you build generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes where you live at may not be it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes where you live at may not be it, and you move the city over from where you at and blow the fuck up. Like literally blow the fuck up. You could be doing bad where you at and move one city over where nobody knows you, reinvent yourself, and blow the fuck up. And that's what we did. We left Miami. Miami got way too expensive for us. We owned a house in Hollywood, Florida. We got rid of it. Didn't really get no profit out of it. You know what I'm saying? We just wanted to get from up under the mortgage. You know what I mean? Because we was really Airbnb in it. That's what the purpose that we had it for. Because we were still here in St. Louis. And we had it for Airbnb. And then we wanted to go there and hang out. We had our own place to hang out at. But we ended up getting rid of it. The Airbnb wasn't really, add up to covering all the expenses that we needed to cover. So we ended up just getting rid of it. Pretty much broke even. Tucked our tail and came back to St. Louis and started over. You know what I mean? So, and again, man, owning a house is not for the weak. And for all you homeowners out there I've had my house for 20 years and never had a problem, and I had this, and for some reason, people are always ready to die. Like when you get to a certain age, like when you're in your 50s and 60s and you done paid that house 25, 30 years on that house, you ready to die and leave the house to the kids as if the kids gonna do the right thing. They gonna sell that shit the moment you're in the grave. I understand that. These kids, man, this generation don't give a fuck about owning nothing. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs that have owned restaurants and businesses for 25, 30, 40 years are selling them? Because their kids don't want them. And that's the truth. I talk to people like this, like, it's historic restaurants in St. Louis that are closing down. They got one in St. Louis called Tony's. Been around 50 years, shutting its doors. Not because he was doing bad business, but because no one in the family wants to take over. Because these kids see how hard their parents work, and they don't want to work that hard. They don't want to work that hard. These kids don't want to put in those 16, 18 hours a day. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They watch their parents leave at 5 in the morning, come home at 7 o'clock at night exhausted. These kids are not prepared to do that. They are not going to do that. I guarantee you. I guarantee you they're not. There are more businesses. Go. It's a website. I'll post it later, but it's a website. Businesses for sale. Just randomly call them. It'll be some guy in his 60s who want to retire, and his kids or grandkids don't want to take over. They don't want the business. That happens every day. These kids do not want to work hard like that, man. They witnessed it. They seen what you went through. That's why a lot of them don't want a mortgage. They seen the shit that you went through with your house, the repairs you had to make. Days they probably didn't have electricity because I have to choose between buying groceries or paying electric bill. Man, light these candles up in this motherfucker. Like that's real life shit, man. That's real life shit. So that's the reason why we choose to rent. So we're not saying don't buy a house. All right. And I want to reiterate that before we leave. We're not saying don't buy a house. Okay. We are not saying don't buy a house. Because for some reason, everybody on my line, like, yo, he keep telling people don't buy a house, but yeah, he owned 3 investment properties. Yes, we own 3 investment properties. We did not buy a house. We did not. There is so much that comes with that. Think about this here. There's a thing called debt to income ratio. Okay? Debt to income ratio. Any real estate agent will tell you when you start the process of purchasing property, do not make any big purchases. Don't make any big purchases. Don't purchase a car. Don't apply for no credit cards. Don't do anything until this process is over with. Do not make any big purchases. All right? And the reason being is because if you make a big purchase during the process of them trying to get you approved for a home, or you get approved and then you make a big purchase, you just interfered with your debt to income ratio. So now your debt becomes larger than your income, or sometimes your debt to income could be 50-50 if they want to approve you. They like to see DTI around 30%. So if your debt to income ratio is in the 50-60%, they're not going to approve you because it's like, okay, where's the room for you to pay for this mortgage? Where are you going to get the money to pay for this mortgage? So that's the reason why we decided to get investment property first, because had we purchased a residential property, say we get $350,000 for a residential property, we dead unless we making 1.5 million a year. You know, if you calculate your mortgage, car notes, utilities, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're making 1.2, 1.5 million a year, you're not getting a loan for nothing else. You done for a while. You done until you can get that equity out in 15 years. And I hear people talk about equity. Oh, you got equity. You got equity. You don't touch equity for 10 to 15 years when you buy a house. You don't walk into a house automatically with equity. You don't. You walk into a house automatically with bills, with debt. You have debt when you walk into a house. Now you got to furnish the house. You know what I'm saying? And if it's a new construction from the ground up, you really dealing with some problems because the house is still settling. So every time you put pictures on the wall, 2 weeks later, motherfuckers falling off the wall because the house still settling. I know this. I know people that I have clients that have built homes from the ground up. It's nightmares. Windows not fitting correctly. Doors not shutting correctly because the house still settling. And the contractor got to come back out and correct this and correct that. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Septic tanks backed up. Like it's an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Absolutely. So that's the reason why we choose to rent. So we're not saying don't buy a house. We're saying if you get approved for $350,000, $400,000, instead of buying a house, buy an investment property. And for those cities that don't have a lot of multi-units, like there are a lot of cities like Phoenix, Arizona, Miami, Florida, that don't have multi-units. A lot of multi-units are generally like in the South and in the Midwest. You can still purchase in the South and the Midwest. Like you don't have to live there to purchase the property. Of course, you have to make some arrangements to be there. You know what I'm saying? You have to make some arrangements to probably hire you a property manager. You know what I'm saying? But the property manager fee is based off the percentage of the rent. So if you got 4 units and you're charging $1,500 a month, For those 4 units, you bringing in $6,000 income. Your mortgage say $2,000. Now you make $4,000. Most of the time, your property manager only want 10 to 15% of whatever the rent is that you bring in. That's it, 10 to 15%. So you pay somebody $400 or $500 a month to take care of your properties. What part of St. Louis, North County would you stay away from? None of them. I would go to all of them. You know why? Because they're gentrifying. North St. Louis is gentrifying like crazy. As a matter of fact, when I spoke about that mixed commercial use property that we closed on early February, we would have closed on it by now, but the owners are on vacation. It's in North St. Louis. Great building. Great building. Great building. Absolute great building, especially for the price. So there's, if it was anywhere in St. Louis that I would, if I was to say I would absolutely just stay away from it, it'd probably be somewhere out west. Out west and got pretty bad. But even then, though, every area offers an opportunity, man. You know what I'm saying? Every area offers an opportunity. If you look at St. Louis right now, they just built this new planetarium. You know, there's 15,000 people are going to be working at this planetarium. And a lot of these people that work there are from other cities and in some cases, other countries. You know, and it's a division of NASA. And it's sitting right there where the old Port Igo projects, one of the most notorious projects ever in the nation, used to sit at. And they took all that land and they're building a planetarium, a whole like space situation going over there. You know what I mean? They have purchased up all those abandoned buildings that sat there for years. They purchased all those buildings in that area and they rehab them. They rehab them because those people need somewhere to live. You know what I'm saying? They need somewhere to live. So that's what I'm saying. Like every area offers opportunity. You know what I mean? It's just what you have to be careful with is who you put into your properties. You have to do your due diligence. You know what I'm saying? I can say we've been lucky. We only had like one bad tenant in the years that we've been doing this. And but all the other tenants, actually all our current tenants are pretty good, you know, because we did our due diligence. You know what I mean? So, but that's the biggest thing. Just be careful who you allow into your property. Know what they got going on. Do some research. Do some background. Social media tells on everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's the first thing I do. Like if I consider a tenant, I look for the social media pages. You know, I'll see some wild, outrageous things on there. It's like, I don't want this in my property. And I also look for like older people. You know what I'm saying? So I try to not to discriminate against younger people, but sometimes younger people are impetuous. So we try to stay away from that. But that was a good question, though. That's a good question. That was a really good question. But yeah, if I was to stay away from any area in St. Louis, it'd probably be somewhere out west. It'd be definitely somewhere. They say the west side, the best side, but man, over there by Hamilton, and there's some beautiful houses over there. Like it's some $500,000 houses over there, but it's just on the other side of there. That's where, you know, pardon me. That's where it gets a little sketchy at. You know what I mean? But again, every area offers opportunity. You have to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You have to start somewhere. Like even right now, we're thinking about just doing a hookah lounge in Charleston, South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Like we're going to partner with somebody out there and do a hookah lounge. You know, hookah is like huge out there because Charleston, South Carolina is a big college town. Like it's a huge college town, and big tourists. That's right, baby. It's and tourists. Like that's why we stayed in Charleston, South Carolina for so long. Like for me, Charleston, South Carolina was such a breath of fresh air. To see so many cultures and ages come together, and it was like a human melting pot. You know what I'm saying? Their downtown area is like amazing. Like, and we were supposed to be going there for like a week or two. We ended up staying there for almost 2 years. You know what I mean? And that's again going back to freedom of renting. You know what I mean? Like we ended up staying in Charleston for almost 2 years. Like Charleston was bomb. You know, met some really good people. And but going back to it, we're thinking about opening up a hookah lounge in Charleston, South Carolina. You know, partnering with somebody out there. So you don't have to live in your city and purchase property in that city. You know what I mean? Who does lawn maintenance? What do you repair cost annually? Think you got 3 properties. Yes, we do have 3 properties that equal 7 doors. I mean, 7 residents that live in 7 different units. 2024, we were good. I think in 2024, our repair costs. Well, first of all, we do basic maintenance. Like I have an agreement with our tenants to where if anything happens, like anything happens, please do not hesitate to call us. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a crew. You know what I'm saying? I have a crew. They're out in North St. Louis. I have a crew, very good maintenance guys. You know what I'm saying? Anything from rehab to basic painting to whatever. Like they're really good at it. They also take care of the yards also, to answer that question. But I think last year we spent less than 10 grand, like less than 10 grand for the whole year on all 7 doors. But a lot of it goes with preventive maintenance. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it goes with just preventive maintenance. Like we do annual fire alarm checks. We do annual carbon dioxide check. Like we're very proactive, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to our tenants, you know what I mean, to our properties. So, but that was a great question. That was definitely a great question. Definitely a great question. And I think lastly, first of all, let me also say this about renting versus home ownership. When you rent, you have to worry about most of the time first and last month rent and maybe a security deposit. Some people want one, some people don't. With purchasing a home, they want a bulk. They want a large down payment. Where some people may work for months or years to put that down payment together to buy a house. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the rose. You know what I'm saying? They may work for months or years to put that down payment down for that house. You know, you're gonna with renting, you're gonna have lower insurance costs because with renting, you only have to worry about renter's insurance. Like the house we got right now, I pay $105 a year. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally like $105 a year. I pay more for our jury insurance than I do for my renter's insurance. Like my jury insurance is like $275 a year for my wife and our jewelry. It's like $275 a year. Our rental insurance is like $105. If you own the house, nah. I'll say some home insurance get up to like $800 a month for homeowners insurance. $800 a month based off the value of the home and the location of the home. $800 a month. Utility bills are a lot lower when it comes to renting. You know, you living in a house, 4-bedroom house, 2 bathroom, 2-story, maybe not a full basement. Your AC in the summer, you may hit. I know here, our AC in the summer, and I'm talking about running 70, 24/7, 7 days a week. Our AC bill in this house may get to like $140 a month, $120 a month. I know people right now, I've had conversations with that the electric bills was $300, $350 in the summertime in St. Louis in their house. You know what I mean? So it's pros and cons. And at the same time, it depends on the person, because I think a lot of times when it comes to home ownership, it's just the pride of saying I own a home. You know, it's just the pride of saying I own a house. I got a house. I just bought a house. You know, and it's just like when you buy a new car. You could buy a brand new 2025 car, and guess what? After that 3rd, 4th car note, you'll be telling people, man, don't smoke in my car. Don't smoke my car. By the time that 4th car note, you smoking in the car. You know what I'm saying? like that newness wears off. That new, and the reality comes in when it comes to paying that car note and paying that car insurance. You know what I mean? Like the newness kick in. But when you get a new car, man, you can't smoke in my car. You can't eat in my car. Will you ever buy property in East St. Louis? You know something? Man, you asking some damn good questions, bro. I have family in East St. Louis, right? And a lot. As a matter of fact, the majority of my family lives in East St. Louis. Like I have very few family members other than my children that live in St. Louis. I have a couple of cousins here. I was the only child. You know, I have no brothers, no sisters. And but my aunts, uncles, cousins all live in East St. Louis. I would consider it, and I had considered it before. What we wanted to do in East St. Louis was open up a nightclub. You know what I'm saying? Because as you know, the laws over there in East St. Louis are real relaxed. And what we found is that when it comes to East St. Louis, unless you from East St. Louis, or unless you breathe a lot of palms, they don't really, want to deal with you. But I do have cousins in East St. Louis that are entrepreneurs. As a matter of fact, my one cousin Tim owns the auto dealership over there. He owns the car lot. So, but yeah, I would definitely consider buying property, especially right now. Especially right now, because East St. Louis, the property already cheap, man. Like, it's the biggest problem with East St. Louis is flooding. As you know, they don't have sidewalks. When it rains, even an inch, it's flooding. You know what I mean? So, but East St. Louis also has its pros. Again, the nightclub life. Clubs stay open at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, some 24 hours. You know what I mean? So, as an entrepreneur, if you can get in and get a nice building and rehab it and set the culture and set the standards of the club to where, you try to prevent violence, then yeah, absolutely I would. I would definitely get property in East St. Louis. I absolutely would. And I've tried, Before it was, I think it's called Club Onyx now. Before it was Club Onyx, we actually tried to get that club right before they got it. But they outbidded us. You know what I mean? They got it before we did. But we absolutely tried. And we're still looking to this day. So, and again, when it comes to generational wealth, that goes back to entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? I've never met anyone who said my parents died or my grandparents died and left me a house and now I got $1 million. Like I've never seen that. I've never heard of that. I've never witnessed that. And going back to the story of my father, when my father died a couple of months later, I get a letter from American Express that was addressed to the estate of Lawrence Owens, which is my father, to the estate of Lawrence Owens. You owe us, $13,000, $14,000, and if you don't pay us, we're gonna put a lien on your house. That was from American Express, and we had to pay that. We had to pay that bill. So, again, it's pros and cons to rent versus homeowners. And I think, and again, we're not saying, before I close out, you say you mentioned gentrification, but I can't ever see East Boogie return. East Boogie would never be gentrified, bro. East St. Louis would never be gentrified, like never be gentrified. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. First of all, you got to study the history of East St. Louis. The East St. Louis riots, you know what I'm saying? East St. Louis is like one of the blackest cities in the country. The mayor, the police chief, the assistant chief, everybody in council are black. But this is the problem with East St. Louis. East St. Louis has sold all its resources off to chemical companies. You know what I'm saying? That's why just a few years ago in their projects, a lot of kids was being born with deformities, being born early, being born with autism, because there was so much chemicals in the water in East St. Louis. East St. Louis probably have more chemical companies per square footage than any county other than maybe Sauget, which is right down the street from there. Like Sauget, Illinois is in the same boat. Like Sauget, Illinois has probably, East St. Louis and Sauget probably have more chemical companies than any city in the country per square feet. And a lot of people know that soil is bad. They know that the water is bad over there. Even now, most people that go to the club in East St. Louis, they don't drink water. They buy bottled water. You know what I'm saying? Even the people that live there don't drink the water. They buy bottled water. A lot of parents even let their kids play outside because the soil has bad chemicals in it. Those trains was dumping chemicals into the water, and it was just bad. So they would never be gentrified, man. Like it'd always be St. Louis. And as you see right now, north side, out west, south. Well, south always been kind of gentrified, but particularly out north and west and northwest, a lot of those properties have been purchased by WashU and St. Louis U. I would have never thought in a million years it'd be a Top Golf in the city. Like we actually have a Top Golf in the city. I would have never thought in a million years it would be a Targets in the city. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have never thought that. The St. Louis Foundry where it sits at, like those are signs of the things that are to come. You know what I mean? And if you look at St. Louis U and WashU, there are the two competing universities in the city that are purchasing up everything, and they're gentrifying everything. And I'm not against gentrification. My thing is, listen, If you had a chance to go out there and buy back the block, why didn't you do it? I'm not mad at the Palestinians. I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at Salama's market on every fucking corner and what's the other market? Gasway. You know what I'm saying? Oh, every corner owned by the Palestinians and Iranians and Middle Eastern. I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad because we had the same opportunity to do it. And we didn't. We didn't. I said all the time, man, listen, if 3-4 guys get together, fix their credit, create an LLC, and combine, go to a bank, they'll probably give you $1 million, man. Do the same thing. It ain't that hard, but we don't have patience. Everybody want to be the fucking boss. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to be the boss. Everybody want to be the ringleader. Everybody want to be Rick Ross and Big Meech. Like, man, people don't care about that. You know, we was getting ready to buy a store off Union. It was a store before they closed down. It was owned by a guy named Hakeem. And he closed the store down. He just got too bad, all the theft and people running there, grabbing stuff, snatching and running out. He just got fed up with it. So he closed the store down. So we were in negotiations to lease that store from him. And he asked me what was my ultimate goal. And I told him, I said, I'd like to put a liquor store right here. You know what he told me? He said, the only way you'll do that is through us. The city would not give you a liquor store here, but they'll give me one. That told me how much power they had in my city. My city. That showed me how much power they had. He said, they won't give you one, but they'll give me one. So right now, right there at Natural Bridge in Teller, they building one of the biggest gas marts in the city. It's like a super gas mart owned by Middle Easterners. And people get mad, but you still gonna go there and shop. You can be mad all you want. You talk all the shit you want to talk, but you still gonna go buy gas. You still gonna go buy alcohol. You gonna still spend money with them, like you do with all of them. Salama's Market and every last one of them. They got restaurants, all those St. Louis grills and Hollywood grills. They are owned by the same people, same family. Same family. All the wig shops. All the wig shops, Paradise Beauty, Hollywood Beauty. Some people family, man. All the people are family in every city. But I don't get mad at them because we can do the same thing they doing. The difference is they got unity. They ain't tripping off who in control. They ain't tripping off who in control. They got unity. They sit back and say, man, we doing this for our family. We ain't doing this for our ego. We're not doing this for our ego. We're doing this for our family. We're not doing this for ego. So while you complaining about why it's a Chinese restaurant on every corner, or you complain about why these Arabs got liquor stores and restaurants and gas stations on every corner, what you gonna do about it? Because you can do the same thing. We could literally do the same thing. You know how many times, I know how many brothers I didn't talk to, like, hey man, let's do something. And they don't. Because we so used to backdooring each other. That's the reason why we don't. We so used to backdooring each other. You know what I'm saying? I had a friend that played the NFL. He going to the Hall of Fame. His name Frank Gore, played for the San Francisco 49ers. They used to own a nightclub in Miami, Florida. And Frank Gore, anytime he was in Miami, because he's from the Gables, he's from Miami. Anytime Frank was in Miami, he would come to my club. Anytime. And there was a time to where I wanted to purchase a second club. And I thought that he and I were friends enough to where I could approach him about the idea of opening a second club. And he told me, he said, hey, Mo, I like you a lot. He said, but man, I've been burned so many times, I'm gun shy. I don't even trust nobody no more. And that's what happens with us. By the time a good idea comes around, that's logical, that's doable, anytime a good idea comes around with our people, we get gun shy because we remember what the last person did to us. We remember what the last person did to us, and we be afraid. I've had people tell me in my business, well, hey man, look, I'll tell you what, show me what you can do and then I pay you. What they do that at? But I get it. They've been burnt so many times by people that do what I do. It's like, okay, show me what you can do, and then I pay you. It don't work like that. It don't, but I get it. I understand the logic. Or they'll say, oh, let me pay you half and I'll pay you the other half when I see results. It don't work like that. But I get it because you've been burnt so many times in the past. I get it. I absolutely understand it. And unfortunately, sometimes it be our own family. Our own family. I say it all the time. It only takes 4 guys to take over a whole city, bro. It only takes 4 people. 4 people get your credit together, continue to work, stack your resources, create 2, 3 LLCs, put the LLCs in different credit unions, spread them out 5, 6 different credit unions, continue to work on your credit. And when all of y'all pop 7, 720, 740s and got the right credit profile, you're millionaires. You're millionaires. But people don't have the patience for that. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you get a little money, what they do? As soon as they get a little money, what they do? And they still, as soon as they get a little money, and they still, they could be my age. I just see men in their 50s and 60s. Hey, come on, man. Stop it, man. Stop it. You can't buy back the block. You can't buy back the block. Stop it. Two or three of the people I respect the most, other than my friend here in St. Louis, who was the godfather of nightclubs. He used to own the biggest roller rink. He owns like 50, 60 properties right now. Hold up. It's doing something. Okay, I'm back. He owns like 50, 60 properties right now. Down in Miami, Florida, it's the Prince family, and they're African Americans. A lot of people think they're Haitians, but they're African Americans, and they work with Flo Rida. Well, Flo Rida work with them. The younger brother Freezy is Flo Rida's manager, and the older brother is E-Class. E-Class is considered the godfather of Florida, like Rick Ross, DJ Khaled. I mean, anybody big that came out of Miami came through E-Class, Po' Boy Records. I respect this family so much because I see what they're doing for the community. They own grocery stores. They own meat markets. They got recording studios. They got restaurants. Like, they are actually employing their community. Now they get ready to open up a strip mall. Like, they literally just purchased an entire strip mall. A strip mall. Like, we got people like that that's giving you the blueprint. Like, we don't have to recreate the wheel. You know what I'm saying? And these are people that would talk to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're like, they gatekeeping. Like you could get in Freezy DM and be, hey, Freezy, man, I got some questions to ask you about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? E-Class may be a little bit harder to get to, but Freezy definitely has. Even Flo Rida. Flo Rida, one of the biggest international stars in the world. DM Flo Rida, hey, man, look, I got a question to ask you about the store y'all opening. May take him a couple of days, but Flo Rida will respond. He would respond to something like that. I know these people personally. And what they doing down in Miami Gardens, anybody could do in any city, man. Just got to start somewhere. Good credit. That's it. Good credit. That's all it takes. You ain't got to have $1 million, but good credit can get you $1 million with a team. With a team, like-minded people. I tell people all the time, we don't have to be friends to do business. We don't have to be friends to do business. I ain't got to be your partner to do business. That's what you got contracts for. I ain't got to be your partner. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to meet your wife. You ain't got to meet my wife. We ain't got to spend out the holidays together. Like, no. Business ain't got nothing to do with friendship. Nothing. Business has nothing to do with friendship. Not a damn thing. Nothing. And even going back, let's go back to home ownership. Let's say right now, you have an idea. And pardon me, your idea takes $50,000. All right. I know grandmothers right now that will put their houses up to bond their grandsons out, and their grandsons may run off on that motherfucker and put them in the bind. Right now. I know grandmothers right now that will put up their homes to bond their grandsons out, and their grandsons may run off on them and put them in the bind. But that same grandmother, if that grandson came to his grandmother and said, hey, grandma, I got an idea. I know this spot over here. I want to open up a sandwich shop. It's going to cost about 50 grand, beginning to end. Let me take a loan out on the house to do it. She'll have a fit. She'll have a fit because she hasn't been exposed to that type of thinking. She hasn't been exposed to that. You know what I'm saying? She hasn't been exposed to he could take this money out my house and like really do something good with it. She hasn't been exposed to that. But let that same grandson get locked up and the bondsman come to our house, she'll assign our household to the bondsman to get him out of jail. That's how we think. I've seen it happen too many times. I've had too many trips around the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had too many trips around the sun. Way too many trips around the sun. I've seen it happen. I've seen guys literally run off on their mamas, grandmamas, go on the run, knowing that they put their property up to get them out of jail. It'd be more people that would attend your funeral than come to your grand opening. And I want you to quote me on that. It would be more people that would attend your funeral than would attend your grand opening. You could post right now, I got a new job, you get 5,000 likes. You post my grand opening Wednesday, you get 15. You get 15. People want to see you do better, but just not as good as them. And I mean that. And that's why sometimes it's best just to pack up and leave, man. Just pack up and leave. Seriously. Sometimes you got to get out your city. Boosie said it best. Most rappers get murdered in their own city. That's true. Most rappers get murdered in their own city. We just see the guy down in Atlanta that had the barbecue restaurant recently got unalived in his own city. Jealousy, man. Jealousy. And that's the reason why when me and my wife went to Charleston, South Carolina, man, that was such a fresher breath air. You have no idea, man. That's the city, the people, the culture, the museums, the restaurants. Just to hear people greet you with respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not used to that in St. Louis. Like, I'm really not. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially the city. Maybe out in the suburbs where I'm from, but not the city. You know, the city, we forever cautious. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as we cross the county, the city line, we all go. Like, we cautious. But in that city in Charleston, man, it was nothing but love, man. It was absolutely nothing but love. So I'm going to get ready to end this. I've been on here for now about an hour. And I appreciate you guys riding out with me. I'm going to try to do it like every other day. But again, 3 ways to create generational wealth. Home ownership is not one. 3 ways to generate generational wealth. If we're talking about generational wealth, because I don't want to die. I don't want to die for someone else to. We got this thing to where we feel like I want to leave my kids something, so I'm gonna leave my house. Like, leave a business, leave some assets. You know what I'm saying? Leaving them a house, you leaving them a bill. Like, you literally leaving them debt. They still got to pay the utility bills, the water bill, the taxes, the insurance. That shit don't go away because you dead. Like, you know what I mean? They still got that. Like, and if you don't financially prepare them, if you don't teach them that, hey, babe, every year you got to pay taxes on this property, because what's going to happen after 3 years, they're going to lose it. State going to take it, put it up for auction. It happens a lot. Particularly here in St. Louis, because they wasn't prepared. Or if you let some unscrupulous lender go to them and say, hey, man, your grandmama own this house free and clear, did she? Yeah. Oh, wow, you know how much the house worth? No, he going to lowball them. Oh, well, according to my estimate, this house worth $95,000. It could be worth $300,000. You don't know. You don't do your due diligence. You don't know. $95,000 to you is a lot of money. You don't know. Tell you what, I'll give you a loan for it right now for $60,000. You take that $60,000 to go ball out. Now you can't afford to pay the $60,000 back. Guess what happens? He foreclosed on your property. Happens all the time. All the time. It's dudes in St. Louis right now, man. They got commercials. If you don't want your old property, if you don't want to take care of those old repairs, if you don't, we're about a house as is. Why? Why you want to buy my house as is? Because they know the value that you don't know. They know the value that you don't know. That house on the corner that's falling down, it ain't about the house that's falling down. It's about the land it's sitting on. It's about that land. Screw the house. You could knock the house down and build. They building container houses right now, right here in St. Louis. Right here in St. Louis. They are building container houses that are very affordable. Don't take a lot of money. But I could convince 2 or 3 people to partner with me. And people are getting, oh, well, if you got the money, why you need partners? You always need partners. What do you mean? You always need partners. Well, if you got money, why you need partners? Because if we go to the bank as partners, we can get more money. We can get more money. That's why you need partners. Good partners. People on the same thought that you on. That's why. You think Elon Musk the smartest person in the room? You stupid. If you think Elon Musk is the smartest person in the room, you stupid. You stupid. He has enough money to hire people smarter than him. You think these rappers that built these successful record labels? I was in a room with Baby. I used to run a record label back in the early 2000s. And we were in Atlanta, and I was introduced to Baby because at that time, my label in St. Louis was picking up a lot of steam. And someone introduced me to Baby, and we spoke for about 15, 20 minutes. And I turned to a friend of mine and said, man, that's the dumbest dude I ever met in my life. Ain't no way he built that label. Ain't no way possible. Like, that is the dumbest guy I ever met in my life. And most execs are like that. They're not the smartest person in the room. So you have to find like-minded people. And at the same time, you have to continue to be educated because science changes every day. You have to continue to be educated. You just can't say, okay, we're going to do this. No, you have to literally have meetings per week, discuss goals, how we go. Like I was saying about the container houses. Them container houses are very affordable. They taking 3, 4 containers, put them on top of each other, throwing electricity, water through them, gas, putting the outside facade on, and boom, sell them. It's a whole neighborhood right now in St. Louis, all container houses, and they look amazing. They look beautiful. Most of the houses, if you look in Ohio, the houses, that neighborhood that Mike Epps rebuilt, a lot of those houses are container houses. A lot of those houses that he built in his old community that he grew up in, are container houses. Look it up. Do some research. Just Google container houses. They're actually taking box trucks and they're stacking them on top of each other, and they creating these asymmetrical houses that look amazing. I mean, these houses look amazing, you know? Very affordable to do, easy to do. You know, I got an idea right now for a truck parking lot. I see some land right outside of St. Louis, huge. I think they want like $175,000 for it. And I was saying to myself, man, it's a lot of trucks that go up and down this portion of the highway. If you were to block that off, put a food store in there, put a place where they could take showers, baths, refresh themselves, and they could park their trucks and sleep overnight, you'll make a killing. You make a killing. Simple ideas like that. Simple ideas, but you need a team. And that's what I tell people, man, you need a team. You know what I mean? Because if I do it by myself, Mike is from my city. If I do it by myself, I'm destroying my debt to income ratio. I can't make no other moves. But if I do it with a team under LLC, now it's like we in business. If we could show the financial institution that we're successful and we know exactly what we're doing and we're showing income, guess what? In the next 18 months, we can go and get anything we want from them. Copy, paste, release. That's it. Copy, paste, release. So, hey, guys, I appreciate you being with me tonight. Let's do it again. Maybe tomorrow night. You know, so I come up with another topic, but the topic will always be on generational wealth. The topic will always be on home ownership versus renting. And just to close out one more time before people start beating me up again on my page, I am not saying not to buy a house. All right. I am not saying not to buy a house. If you want to buy a house, hey, listen, you buy it, you own it, 25, 30 years, you be saying, thank God it's mine. Like I can't live like that. Like I'm an entrepreneur and I work for myself because I can't think of retirement. Like I don't want to retire at 62, 65. Like I don't want to do that. I want to retire next week. Like that's why I hustle. Like I want to retire next week. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about working a post office job for 30 years and retiring with a pension. My mind is them days are gone, man. Like you be lucky to have Social Security by the time you retire. You'd be lucky to have a pension when you retire. You know what I'm saying? You'd be lucky. He said, what are the 3 ways to make generation wealth? I'll repeat it to you. But you'll be lucky to have a pension in 20, 30 years. You'd be lucky to have retirement, Social Security in 20, 30 years. They said Medicare may run out in the next 10 years. It's like we have to be more proactive. You know what I'm saying? There's too many examples out there. It's way too many examples out there. Way too many examples. Way too many examples. And again, it just takes team effort. You know, once you get a team together of like-minded people, it's a guy on Instagram. His name is, he does credit repair also like I do. His name is S.A. something. But anyway, him and a group of friends, it was like 5 of them, 6 total. They purchased a warehouse and it took them 4 years to rehab it. But now that warehouse is worth like $3 million. And they purchased it together. Together, they purchased it for like $500,000. Now it's worth like $3 million in 4 years. And now they're renting out spaces to different restaurants and places like that. You know what I'm saying? But they had a vision and they stuck with it. You know what I'm saying? They had a vision and they stuck with it. So the 3 ways to create generational wealth. 3 ways. 1, entrepreneurship. Create a business. Or businesses. It ain't got to be a business. It could be businesses. Or either purchase a business. It's a lot of businesses out there that, people who are going into the golden age of years, going into their 50s, 60s, 70s, that have businesses that their children or their grandchildren don't want to operate because they see how hard they worked. They see them work from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, and they don't want to do that. There are a lot of businesses out there for sale. It could be vending machine routes. It could be a laundromat. It could be a car wash. It could be a hot dog cart. Like, create an asset that's going to create you revenue. You know what I'm saying? Create an asset that's going to create you revenue, positive cash flow every month. You know what I'm saying? That's one way of creating generational wealth. It's something that you could start and expand. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying about the gentleman in Charleston, South Carolina. He started with 1 ice cream truck and built up to 6. He still drove his 1 and he rented the other 5 out in the spring and summertime. And what I forgot to mention was that along with renting the ice cream truck, he sold them the supplies that went on the truck. You know what I'm saying? So, he was double dipping. Like, they had to go through him to get their supplies. So that's how most entrepreneurs are. Everything is in-house. It's not that difficult. I told myself one year, the true story, 2 years ago, St. Louis summer had hit like in the 100s, and I have one of my properties sits on an extremely busy intersection. And I was going to stand out there from like 9 a.m. because across the street is a park. And at 8, 9, and sometimes earlier, you see people literally walking around the park, exercising in the morning. And I came up with the idea, like, something, if I buy a big enough cooler, I could put a couple of hundred bottles of water in this cooler and sell water for $1.50, $2 a bottle. The bottle of water only cost me like 16 cents if you buy it by the case. I mean, we talking about 24 bottles for $3.25. So a bottle of water cost me 15, 16 cents. I'm selling it for $2. You know what I'm saying? I'm creating revenue. Just the water boys in Atlanta, man, some of them cats make $1,000 a day between begging and selling water. Like, they make $1,000, 14 years old. How a 14-year-old out hustle you? You know what I'm saying? So one way of generational wealth is creating is entrepreneurship. The second way is investments. You know what I'm saying? Again, me and my wife, we were it's an app called Acorn. Very simple app to use. We donate $100 a month, and we do credit card and debit card roundups to Acorn. We would Charles Schwab, and we would E-Trade. Each one we put $100 a month. We set it aside. We let them invest it how they want. It's like you set it and forget it. It's just money that you put to the side and you let it go. Like you don't think about it. And for me, those funds are not for me because, as I mentioned before, me and my wife were in an age gap relationship. So realistically, I'm supposed to die before her. You know what I'm saying? Realistically, we know life happens, but realistically, I'm supposed to die before my wife. So the third way of generational wealth is life insurance. You know what I'm saying? My wife and I both have life insurance. GoFundMe is not life insurance. A GoFundMe account is not life insurance. We know that we have those certain relatives that's in them streets. You know what I'm saying? And not burning bread on nobody, but it's a matter of time. We know they got ops. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know the people got ops, put $100,000 insurance policy on them. You know what I mean? Like, and people get so upset when you talk about insurance because it's like we had this thing in the Black community to where we feel like if somebody puts insurance on us or if we get insurance, like somebody gonna kill us for the insurance money. Like we watch so many Lifetime movies and don't get it twisted. It does happen. You know what happened in St. Louis just a few years ago? I don't know if you ever heard about the Sweetie Pies case, but it does happen. But that's extreme. You know what I'm saying? That's extremely extreme. Like, unfortunately, my mother, when she passed, my mother passed before my father. She didn't have life insurance, and we didn't know. Well, actually, her life insurance lapsed, and we didn't know. She outlived her life insurance, and they never sent notice that she had outlived her life insurance. So we had to pay for her funeral out of pocket. However, when my father passed, my father had life insurance. But my father didn't leave a policy to me. He left a policy to his little sister. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other story. But but he had life insurance. So we was able to, cover all his arrangements. And then, she walked away with, a few $1,000s. You know what I'm saying? So, but going back, the younger you are when it comes to life insurance, the cheaper the policy. The younger you are, the cheaper the policy. The younger you are, the cheaper the policy. So for those people that know, my people out here on these streets, they tripping, they got ops, they got this, they playing Russian roulette with their life. Put insurance on them. It's not a knock on them. It's not to say, hey, look, I wish you, I hope you get knocked off, or you know what I'm saying? Like you're not praying or asking for the worst, but reality is just reality. You know what I'm saying? Like if I had a son, I got two sons. If one of my sons and I knew that he was out here in these streets, like out here in these streets, you know what I mean? I would definitely make sure they have insurance. Definitely. Any advice to 95 employees? Absolutely, I got advice. Don't quit your job. If you could work for someone else from 9 to 5, then you could work for yourself from 7 to 12, 7 to 1. You know what I'm saying? Sleep is overrated. Sleep is overrated. You know what I mean? Focus on developing you and developing your knowledge. As a matter of fact, I have a vast library. Huge. Let me grab a book. Where's the other one? Read. If you work 9 to 5, don't quit your job. What I would say is this here. Eliminate all excess. Meaning that if you like going to brunch, if you like going to the club, if you like hanging out with the homies, if you eliminate all that shit, give yourself a year to 18 months. I did it. You know what I'm saying? Backstory on me. At one time I was homeless. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't homeless because I didn't have anywhere to stay. I was homeless because I didn't want to live with nobody. You know what I'm saying? I fell on hard times. I was homeless. I went into a shelter. And while I was in that shelter, I worked 2 jobs. You know what I'm saying? And working those 2 jobs and saving money helped me get back on the right track. But during that time, that year, 18 months that I was homeless, I didn't date. I didn't eat out. I did no fast food. I literally worked and went back to the shelter. And on Sundays, my daughters would cook Sunday dinner for me. You know what I'm saying? I would go to my daughter's house and all my daughters would be there. My son would show up. And my other son, he worked a lot. He's a police officer. He works a lot. And they would cook Sunday dinner for me. I would pack up some leftovers, take it back to the shelter. You know what I mean? Like I literally did that for 18 months. To the point that I even quit smoking cigarettes because when I did the math, I was smoking 2 packs a day at like $8 a pack. That was $16 a day in just cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Like in just cigarettes. Like I'm literally spending, $100 and some dollars a week on cigarettes. So I broke the habit of smoking cigarettes to save that money. So I would say to anybody that's working 9 to 5, educate yourself, expand your mind, read. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of stuff is on YouTube, but reading is so much different than listening. You know what I'm saying? Because when you read, reading forces you to comprehend what you're reading. It forces you. When you listen to something, you're just listening to it. But when you actually read it, it's like your brain forces you to comprehend what you're reading. So, pardon me. Like I said, I have a vast lot. I got like 300 books. Like I read a lot. This is a classic. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Classic. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say the story wasn't the way it happened, whatever. It doesn't matter. Great book. You know what I'm saying? Like he teaches you about assets over liabilities. Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad to me is the cornerstone of any entrepreneur when you first start trying to develop that entrepreneurial mindset. All his books are good. Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. Teach you how to create good habits and get rid of bad habits. This book helped me out tremendously. And when you go through it, you'll see I marked the pages up and highlighted. Like I still read these books over and over again. And last but not least is a book that may be hard to find, but it's called Taming Your Mind. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. Taming Your Mind. This book teaches you about advertisement and how advertisers trick you into making what they call they trick you to making purchases that you didn't mean to make. You know what I'm saying? Like Taming Your Mind, absolutely great book. When I tell you, when I read this, it really blew me away. How advertisers trick us into buying products that we didn't intend on buying. Like when you go to a grocery store, you have a grocery list, and you say, "Okay, I'm gonna stick to my list." Advertisers scientifically know how to trick your mind into making purchases that you did not intend to make. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever notice when you go through the checkout line, all the candy and gum right here? You know what I mean? Like in every grocery store, every grocery store, any grocery store you go to, when you get to the checkout line, all the candy and gum is on the right, but all the healthy snacks is on the left. You know what I'm saying? So it's a scientific way they do that. And that book teaches you how to do it to where when you start your business, you can learn some of the tactics that they use. You know what I'm saying? So generational wealth, investing, entrepreneurship, life insurance. That's how you bridge the gap between generational wealth and not having generational wealth. Of course, I'm the type of person I do want to leave my kids something. I want to leave my wife something, but at the same time, I got one life. I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to work till I'm 65 years old. You know what I'm saying? I do not want to work until I'm 65 years old. Like I don't want to work till I'm 65. I don't. And I heard so many people be like, "Oh, work, retire." What is your quality of life at 65? Yep. Investing, entrepreneurship, life insurance. Yes, absolutely. So what kind of quality do you think a person 35 has the same quality of life as a person 65? I don't want to wait until I'm 65 to start living life. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to work nowhere until I'm 60, 62, punching somebody clock working 9 to 5. Like, you know what I'm saying? For those people that are working 9 to 5, take the money that you have that's not going towards your bills and your life, and stack that bread. Work on your credit. Now, whether I fix your credit, another company fix your credit, or you could get books on how to fix your credit. Credit repair is all about consistency. Fix your credit. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, that's another generational wealth gap. A lot of us can't get loans because our credit bad. A lot of us can't move into the communities that we want to move into because our credit bad. A lot of our kids can't go to the schools that we want them to go to because our credit bad. You can't drive the car you want to drive. Your credit bad. You can't get a loan. Credit bad. You can't get a credit card. Credit bad. I know some people can't even open up bank accounts because they credit bad. Any business ideas for teachers and educators? Oh my God, you should have 1,000,000 of them. You in the whole field. You in the whole field. Like I was saying, my daughter works with autistic children. Her ultimate goal one day is to open up her own learning center for autistic children. That's where her ultimate goal is. You know, I have my youngest daughter. She goes to a HBCU. She's going for child development. Her idea is amazing. She wants to open up a 24-hour daycare center that operates 24/7. You know what I'm saying? That's her ultimate goal. You know, my middle daughter, she's been working at McDonald's for since she was 15. You know what I mean? Like she never had any other job, you know, since she was 15, and she just turned 26. And finally, we think she's gonna hopefully get her own franchise. But when you're an educated teacher, I mean, you got it right there. I mean, there's so much you could do with that. So much you could do with that. Anything with children or even with the elderly. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, we have the fastest growing aging population ever in history. Ever in history. That's why home health care is blowing up right now. I got a client right now trying to get 2 vans with the wheelchair lifts on them. You know what I'm saying? Home health care is blowing up right now. We have the oldest aging population in the history of this country. All them Gen X's are pushing 60. The baby boomers, they dying out. They're in their 70s, 80s. They dying out. Gen X is pushing 60. They need people to take care of them because guess what? A lot of their kids won't do it. A lot of their kids won't do it. So their kids on TikTok doing dances and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they streaming 24 hours trying to get that check. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. I get it. I absolutely get it. But you know, we're from different generations. You know, my father stayed with me until the day he passed. You know what I mean? So yeah, we different generations. My mom stayed with me till the day she passed. So but yeah, as an educator, I mean, you got credentials. You know what I'm saying? She said, I'm Gen X and I'm 45. So you was born right there. You was born right there at the beginning of Gen X. Like literally, like you was born right at the beginning of Gen X at 45. Like you was born right at the beginning. I mean, literally right at the beginning of that generation at 45 years old. Yeah, because right now Gen X is like 45 to 60, 62. That's Gen X. 45 to 62. So you was born right there at the thing. You think you born at the end? Oh, you're absolutely right. Thanks for the correction. I said it backwards. You was born at the end of Gen X. You caught the last year. Man, you almost made it, man. You can still be called a young man, though. Still be called a young man. You made it at the end. I made it right at the middle. I made it at the middle. You know what I'm saying? I made it right at the middle of Gen X. But I mean, our generation is we unks now. You know what I'm saying? We the unks. You know what I'm saying? We the old heads. We the old schools. You know what I'm saying? Now you get offended with kids used to call me, hey, what up, Unc? Unc. I don't get so offended now. You know what I'm saying? It's a term of endearment. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, but it's TikTok said, great job. You've been going live for 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break. Wow. Damn. Thank you, TikTok. I appreciate that. It has been 90 minutes. Oh, wow. It's been an hour and a half. As you see, I can go on forever. I can go on forever. But hey, look, guys, I appreciate you. I'm gonna come back on tomorrow night. And again, I want to talk about generational wealth. I want to talk about home ownership. And again, I know a lot of people disagree with me. Home ownership to me is a nightmare. I've never met anyone that said, someone died, left me a house, and I became a millionaire. I've never heard that, but I have heard entrepreneurs become millionaires. I have heard investors become millionaires. I even know people that accumulated insurance policies. You know what I'm saying? Insurance agents become millionaires. You know what I'm saying? Insurance agents. And someone has to die. You know what I'm saying? For them to stop getting paid. You know what I mean? Like as long as you allow, they get policies. You know what I mean? So, and again, I want to go back to the insurance policy really, really quick. Hey guys, don't be afraid to have that conversation. I know it's you're welcome. I know it's a hard conversation to have when it comes to insurance. I know it's a hard conversation to have. Hard. Even with me and my father was sick with COVID. Like even having that conversation with my father, it was like it was a hard conversation to have with my father about that. You know what I'm saying? To talk about his insurance and things like that. So. But it's definitely a difficult conversation to have. Me and my wife, sometimes she'll start crying, but I get to talk about, look, baby, one day I'm going to die. Like, I want to make sure you're okay. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we discuss the moves that she's going to make because I don't want someone to take advantage of her, you know what I'm saying, coming into this substantial amount of money from the insurance. I don't want, whether it's a family member, friend, whoever, I don't want anyone to take advantage of her, once she gets that insurance. You know what I mean? So, and again, if you do own property, if you do own a house right now, create a will. Create a will. All right. That's my last advice for homeowners. If you are a homeowner, because I have a will, you know what I'm saying? I also have a trust. My trust is different than that board they teach you on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? My trust simply keeps my wife from going in debt in the event of my death. All right. So in the event of my death, my trust prevents my wife from taking on my debt. So I have my vehicles, I have my credit cards, I have properties, I have everything in the trust to where in the event of my death, the trust will cover all the debt. My wife will have no debt when I die in that trust. So it's kind of different than that other stuff they teach you on Instagram. It's a lot different ways of trust or whatever. But if you do own property, if you own a home, create a will. Make someone in charge of that house. Pick someone specific for that house in the event of your demise. Because we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Create a will and have conversations with that person about what are you going to do once you take control of this house. Have those conversations. You know what I mean? Teach them about the taxes on the house. Teach them about how to upkeep the house. Like, teach them that. Because unfortunately, a lot of us die. It'd be suddenly, unexpected, or it could be expected. But we have to prepare them for that house. Because again, there are people that will come and knock on that door and will literally try to get that house out of them. I've seen it. It happens all the time in the hood. All the time. People knock on the door. Hey, you want to sell your house? Your house is valued at $90,000. House will be worth $300,000. You don't know. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't do your homework. You don't know. You never got an appraisal. You don't know what the house worth. He just told you the house worth 90. I'm willing to loan you 60 on it right now. You got anything you need to fix on the house? You got any big purchases you want to make? Cut you a check right now for $60. Sign this contract. You don't read the small print. You got $60,000 at 29% interest. And now you paying the mortgage all over again. 6-7 months go by, you can't afford it no more. And the guy just took your house for $60,000. It happens. I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen it happen so many. Go to your city auction. Every city has an auction. Go to your city auction. Look how many properties that's going to be listed on that auction just from people losing their properties to taxes. Just simple taxes. You know what I'm saying? So I want to tell you guys, thank you. I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow night. Get them questions ready for me. And thank you for all those that did participate. You guys have a good night.